Good morning, everybody. It's day 21 of my vlog, and we're looking at the Sabbath Psalm, Psalm 92. The title says, A Psalm or Song for the Sabbath Day. This psalm gives us the purpose for the Sabbath, and it gives us the benefits of the Sabbath, and it also is very appropriate for what we're going through right now. For many of us, it's been almost 4 or 5 weeks of Sabbathing, of a prolonged Sabbath, which I believe is one given to us by God because we haven't learned to Sabbath. And we're going to learn to sit still and let God eventually. The purpose of the psalm of the Sabbath, according to this psalm, is to be thankful, verses 1, to praise God, verse 1, to show God's goodness and kindness, verse 1. And then its purpose is in verses 4 and 5 is to look at work. But interestingly enough, it does not talk about our work. It talks about God's work. And so another purpose of the Sabbath is to remember that it's God that works in us to do, willing to do according to his good pleasure. Philippians 2:13. That when we think it's all about our work, we've forgotten that it's God that works in us. It's that God that works around us. It's God that's working even on the Sabbath day to keep us provided for, so that we have more than enough when we stop working, to teach us to enjoy what God has given us. That's the work aspect of the Sabbath. And then we get to verses 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. We look at enemies. And what does the Sabbath have to do with enemies? And it's simply this. If you are at war for 6 days, you don't take the seventh day off unless you trust God. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but somebody's got to protect you on the seventh day if the enemies are still out there. And by stopping on the Sabbath day, you find out that God is your defense. Not just the Sabbath day, but all other 6 days. Let's read the verses. When the wicked spring forth as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for lo, thine enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt. Horn has to do with rule or power or authority. My horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of an unicorn. In other words, when I stop in Sabbath, God puts me in a place of leadership, of ruling, of authority, of victory. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. That's how it happens. Mine eye also shall see my desire on mine enemies, and mine ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. So the Sabbath is to teach us that the wicked don't win. And it's not because we defeat them. I watch during this time how many Christians think they have to defeat those on the other side. No, God already defeated them. The victory is his. The wicked don't rest in God's work. They trust their own work. They are called workers of iniquity, not because of what they do, but because of who they trust, and they trust themselves. That's broken work. Psalm 52:7 describes this man well. Lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches and strengthened himself in his wickedness. It is wicked to trust in riches and not to trust in God. The Sabbath is to remind us that they won't succeed. These enemies of God in verse 7 are our enemies in verse 11. See, God's got it covered. And we tend to fear the wicked. The Sabbath is to teach us, don't fear them. We are tempted to trust in our own works and riches. And one of the reasons so many believers are in stress right now is because they're worried about their 401 and Roth and all the other riches they have. Well, we're Sabbathing to remember, don't do that. The Sabbath tells us to remember to trust in God. Every time you Sabbath, remember to trust in God. Those that don't trust God, according to this psalm, are destroyed, they perish, and they're scattered. Right in the middle of these verses on the workers of iniquity is verse 8, and I love verse 8. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. So when you look at the world around you on the Sabbath, with thanksgiving, with songs of praises, remember to trust God, because He's on the throne. He's most high. He's in control. He's in charge forevermore. So rest or Sabbath in that truth. Now in the next study, part 4, we will be looking at the benefits or conclusion of keeping the Sabbath in Psalm 92, 11 through 15. May God bless you richly as you learn to Sabbath.